So you found out you had cancer? How did that happen?
You know, from playing sports, I had hip pointers and aches and pains, and so I'd always stretch. And one day in the morning before we went out, I was stretching on the floor, and I was stretching on the hardwood floor instead of the rug, and I rolled over on my right side because I was usually stretching my right leg, so I was laying on my left side, and it just felt like there was like a marble in my, just kind of bought, you know, I didn't think much of it, you know, calcium buildup or bone spur or something, you know, so, and within 2 months it was from like a marble to the size of an orange. And it wasn't making me sick or anything, so I didn't think anything of it. But it was rubbing, my muscles were all so bad walking around that much that a lot of times after lunch I'd have to go home and just sleep for a while. And you know, I was getting frustrated with that, so we finally went into this doctor that was just across the street from us, and I think he was a plastic surgeon doctor or something, but he said he'd x-ray it and take a look at it. And so I get the x-ray, and I'm just waiting there in the room, and he comes in kind of looking at it, and he drops it on the floor. And then, you know, it's always tile or hardwood floors there, and it's kind of dusty, and he's picking it up, he's kind of brushing the dust off of it, and he looks at it, and he puts it back down, starts brushing the dust off again, and he looks at it again, he's like, oh, that wasn't dust, that looks like you have a tumor in your leg. And I was like, and you know, at this point I'm about 5 months out on my mission, so I didn't really understand exactly what he said, so I just kind of turned to the elder praetor and was like, did he really say what I think he said? And he's like, yeah, he had a tumor. So, you know, that was shock and frustration right there. And then, you know, I went to the hospital there and got an MRI, and they said, oh yeah, we can remove it, and we just need to, you know, bring in the equipment from the States. And so of course that didn't go over well with the mission president, so he's just like, well, it's a lot easier just to send you home. And so I think 2 weeks later it was the next transfer, and so I went home with that group of missionaries. But it was frustrating and
scary,
but they lined me up with Dr. Randall here at the Huntsman, and you know, he's the sarcoma specialist, so he removed it. Probably I got back home in September.
What year was this?
This was 2000, so I got home September, you know, the end of September, right before my birthday, and then he lined up the surgery in October, like a month later, and it was a pretty big surgery. They had to, the bone cancer was coming out of the bone, so he had to cut all the bone out that he thought might be contaminated. So he cut the pelvis bone. They cut the whole iliac crest off, and you know, and so before going in, he didn't really know what he'd have to do. So he had an artificial hip, you know, in the room, and you know, he's straight up with me and said, you know, walking might not be a possibility, or you know, because we might just have to split your pelvis and just make do with what we have. And so it was, but he just took the iliac crest out, and I think it was a 8-hour surgery, and it was done at the University of Utah hospital. I had a roommate, and it was the craziest thing. And first roommate, he had been in a car accident, just making noise, and it was just and then I got C. diff from the hospital, and I was horrendous. That was the most embarrassing thing ever. But you know, I was in the hospital for 2 weeks and went home and started rehabbing as soon as I could. And he was always pretty amazed at how well I got back walking and doing the things I wanted to do. But you know, when I got home, I didn't have any friends around because they had either gone off to college or they were
On a mission.
on a mission. And my one really good friend from baseball, and he was living in Colorado, and he moved back just because he knew I was by myself, and you know, I could really use him.
Wow.
So he moved back, and it was funny because about 8 months later, he went on a mission, and you know, he was the kid that no one had ever believed would go on a mission. So I thought that was probably my best mission conversion story was Caleb.
That's great.